recovering from trauma and drug addiction in a community mental health setting, as well as with veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. She co-founded Philly's Take Back the Night in 2010 and began facilitating trauma workshops in 2012. Amanda works with Project SAFE, increasing access to harm reduction resources in North Philly, and is a member of the Up Against the Law Legal Collective, confronting state and police violence through Know Your Rights trainings and access to legal information and support. She believes it is our duty to confront and challenge white supremacy, capitalism, and rape culture with the power of strong communities supporting each other through resiliency, organizing, and the liberation of resources. She is a social justice worker dedicated to social transformation and access to basic human rights such as safety, education, healthcare, housing, and food for all. Please welcome Amanda.
Okay. So I just want to real quick preface. This is a narrative poem, and it's a work in progress based on the work that I do in the different community clinics I work with and the trauma work I do with my clients, friends, family members, and different organizations and people here. I live my life in stories. Clients and lovers, strangers and mothers share horrors and hilarities that claim my moments and bring clarity. When I started writing my last piece, Ice Cubes and Exit Signs, I talked a lot about adrenaline. There is a commonly known fact discussed in traumatized lives about the defenses of oppressed humans. Those on guard waiting for the next attack, defending their right to breathe. So when I heard South African jazz legend Hugh Masekela say, the thing about being oppressed is that you come with survival mechanisms. And I think our biggest survival mechanism is music. It was beauty to my sometimes overwhelmed ears, because when she said, you're adrenalized, it felt like a made-up word, like a video game taming my hormones, swarming with a magic sword from the wizard, waving in the wings to save the day and slash my flashbacks and abreactions away. Rape culture is the knowing they won't listen as closely because my he was a she, and my they brought me in so I couldn't keep safety closed with restrictions about who my person's allowed to be. It's the knowing they won't do much because consent doesn't matter since my life isn't so drug-free and clean. It's family norms that normalize my body as not mine. It's society's expectations that my culture means it should be a little more fine. It's the belief of my 17-year-old cousin that in Colombia it is a terrible thing to be a woman. Rape culture splits the lips of passion and sensations and unintended mentionings, the intersectional menace for how we've been taught to conquer, divide, and hide. I assure him he's home, but it's not enough, and he won't let me comfort him because his mind tells him he doesn't deserve to cry. Lies about the bruises and cracked camera phone lenses because rape culture is having to succumb to his man up screams at me. He avoids my eyes and recalls the worst, says, I'm supposed to be stronger than this. Supposed to like roughness and take what he calls desensitized bliss just because of my dick. Rape culture relies on the over-objectified, dominated, and sexualized entitlement of life. A strong strife to bear when one's body isn't cared for. Internalized ideas break boundaries and worth with bruising, battered concepts of you are mine. Encountering her hair length breaks the tone of masculinity shown down on. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, for staring and glaring are lessons taught from the beginning of child rearing, and a 9-year-old mind doesn't make sense of these media images in anything less than discomfort and feeling hunted. The feeling of being stared at, the almost lust, the inappropriate, not quite abusive touch, hunted. A constant lived experience of being prepared for and on the defense for the next cat call, the next ass grab, the next assumption of entitlement to your space and your body. Hailing and honing in on transphobia's justifications as one more way to exercise their demons for distraction and disconnection. How many ways will we continue to teach our differences as negatives and our collaborations as weakness? See, this mask you wear keeps your consciousness hidden, but at least I'm honest about which gender I'm more comfortable living in. Her paper-cut analogy made perfect sense to me because the shearing pain of constant catcalling and the propositioning closing in on my space and the whistling leaves no marks on the hourly basis but adds up to my explosions when I haven't slept enough that day. Good riddance to my father's brother's wife who told me to keep my mouth shut when the lights went out too early, too late, too many times to remember our misinterpretations of people-pleasing. Rape culture makes us believe we don't have power to be seizing. It's the constant assault menacing my walk down the street or into a nightclub or into a cis-dominated office meeting, into the space I was assaulted in last year but no one wanted to hear. Rape culture is defensive and needing protection from potential and perceived dangers, anger being stifled by propriety and anxiety, second-guessing all the things I say and not knowing what to throw away. Rape culture is, he told me, I'm putting myself in harm's way because I'm beautiful. He says I shouldn't work at my bar anymore, but so far, every job I've had, from cashier to stockbroker and back to slinging beer, I've dealt with this harassment stress and all of the rest, in all of the places from the whistling to the caressing and the bottled up pain. At this point, it's just depressing. Rape culture is ableist and capitalist. So towns like Glen Ridge, New Jersey make the map for football team gang rapes and cover up mercy pleas by Rutgers University presidents with boys will be boys, minimizing tendencies, worried about ratings and revenue fees. Rape culture takes advantage of undocumented humans who have slim to no recourse for safe resolutions. Rape culture is a physical, sexual, social, and spiritual assault on the bodies who harbor shame and confusion about pleasure and pain, about consent and obligation, about restraining rage and reclaiming space, collecting strangers en masse. Rape culture tells us substance use, not behaviors or attitudes, cause violence, not entitlement and objectification, but a body not being satiated. Rape culture is my mom giving him permission to have sex with me so he won't leave her, is not knowing I could say no because what would the family say. Rape culture feels gross, nauseating to some, like sludge on your face, clogging your pores, making it difficult to breathe. Rape culture is wanna fuck in response to a hello on the street. It's being ignored by your superiors if you decline their advances. It's he takes care of me so I can't leave, but I can't bleed without feeling guilty. It's sleeping with a knife, sleeping with a bat, sleeping with a gun in your nightstand so that in case that one night stand gets out of hand. It's assumptions about play just because a few kisses got in our friendship's way. It's you saying my boundaries are a snub, you grabbing and kissing my neck when all we talked about was a back rub. Rape culture married white supremacy, and their dominating brainchild made silence our family motto. Too afraid to talk about the violence because Lord jail males in my family is not an option. Rape culture courted transphobia, and so already queered folk deal with 2 times the stigma and fear, having to justify how they feel, what they wear, whether or not I'll get harassed in the bathroom by manifestations of twisted trans misogynistic turf realizations. Rape culture affects us all. It's no different than any other oppression or ism, and brazenly beats autonomy and power out of sex worker collectives, drains movements and attempts at safety from male-dominated capitalistic constructs, rewarding rapists and normalizing victim blaming. Rape culture is I never knew I was supposed to feel good. Never knew safety could be a priority. It was always about meeting their needs until I met her and began planting consent communication seeds. It lives in prisons and classrooms, in high school hallways and workplace coffee talk stages, in organizing meetings and thickly veiled iron railings holding up glass ceilings of glamour prioritized over brain matter. Rape culture's enemy is the 15-year-old asserting themselves to a teacher who says, "You're just being too sensitive," and filing sexual harassment complaints for the comments that are relentless. It's the interchangeable use of pronouns to support how I feel inside. It's a ride without the fear of being hit on. It's the sweet and sexy story of their strong, determined body combining goddesses' rightful places in the center with trans faces entitled to and supported in safer spaces. It's brown and black, feminine beauty and power, not tokenized, but realized and prioritized by comrades and community strides. It's confronting the stigma assigned to sex work and realize substance abuse is not a consent to be abused. It's knowing that sometimes fighting is all we have. And sharing stories until 4 in the morning keeps the crush from taking hold, and streets and homes full of warriors waiting for activation from separate city stations makes depression or nightmare-filled days worth it, because being hunted means you learn to fight back, means you strategize and collectivize until you're